I think it's fair to say it's a mixture of feelings. I think excitement is one way of putting it, because you're going out to another place, you're going to meet new people, you're going to make new friends, and you're going to do whatever it is you're going to do there. But then you begin to think of what to expect. And then you start to think of what you've heard and what you've been told. And then you begin making your perceptions in your mind of the place you're going to go to. For me, however, it was about making Wales my next home for 2 years, even though I didn't think of it that way at that moment. And nothing, not even what I heard, could have prepared me for the experiences I've had. Much as this film is about my experiences, it is also a projection of my subconscious, I've found. Each of the characters represents an interpretation of my subjective experience. I found that as I observed the developments in these characters' lives, I also found myself interacting with those issues that my background as an African was suppressing.
Like until 16, 17, I can't remember exactly when, like I was just plain scientific. I was just bothering about, there must be a way to explain that, to explain that, to explain that. And then my mom forced me to go to what's called the Silva method. It's a place where we do like mental training. And actually there we did like things, like someone thinks of a person and how do you say, and imagines, for example, like one of the disease that person has, and you have to just guess what it is. And I mean, at first you're like, it's just imagination, but we did that tens and tens and tens, hundreds of times. At the end, you're like, you fail. You have a ratio of success of 95%, and like 5 guesses are wrong out of 100. I mean, then at that point I started to study life, like actually in a spiritual way as well. And since that day, I don't know what happened, but I just went skyrocketing high. And so my first point is just to drop loads of these small things like that one everywhere around the world, like just to make the energy better. And second, after that, I mean, first that's my main thing with these. I just make hundreds and hundreds and ship them to friends or just drop them everywhere I go. But at the same time, I'd like to understand exactly how it works and why, but I mean, I still can't get it.
I had a lovely life before it happened, before all the trouble started. I had a wonderful life. But it's like I'm in a beautiful painting and it got smashed. And God's put this painting together and it's more beautiful than ever. I have a great compassion for people now. And I think that comes through what I've been through. The name, the Rainbow of Hope, came from a time of prayer. And the rainbow, of course, is God's covenant. He's with us all the time. He'll never leave us. And our hope, obviously, is only in the cross of Christ. So everything, the paradise run, the rainbow of hope, everything has come from prayer. And God started the work off on me on one night. I was asked to go out onto the streets of Cardiff and feed people. And simply, I had nothing. And I prayed into it, and I was reading St. Luke's Gospel, the feeding of the 5,000. And I felt God saying to me, what have you got in your hands? I thought, the only thing I've got is food. Maybe, it could be toast, or it could be a cooked meal, or it could be a bowl of cereals, but that's all I have, because I have no money. And I felt God saying, well, give it to me, and I will use it, And so that was where the work started. One night on the street of Cardiff, with a carry bag of pork pies and some crisps. Went out to the guys who were homeless and shared the food. But God took it on from there to develop this thing called Paradise Run, where we have 28 teams now on the street. They're out there every month. Once every fourth week the team goes out. So every night of the year, for the last sort of 13, 14 years, there's been a team on the street feeding people regardless of who they are. And that's the remarkable thing. People say it's a homeless thing. It's not. It's for anybody who needs help. Because I believe if somebody comes there, they're coming because God is calling them. Be it that they're hungry or they're homeless or they're lonely or they're bereaved. And our job is to be there showing that love of Jesus to them, to put an arm around their shoulder, to spend time listening to their problems, to feed them or whatever, but to be the body of Christ, to share his love. And he's taken it from there out into asylum seeker work, out into working with youngsters. And I just believe that we should be there for each and everybody. We're all created by God, by this amazing God who's passionate about us. And I believe that we should all be passionate about each other. We should all see each other as unique beings that have been created by God, you know. And it's always looking for that spark in each person, you know.
What do you intend to do with those?
Actually, these ones are for a friend that he asked me to make him a big pack, so it's about 250. I'm gonna ship this afternoon to him.
We injected special resins and it's almost invisible and the windscreen's strong again.
And what I've been through and seeing how my life has changed, that has to touch people and give them hope that no matter how far down they are, there's hope for them. Their life can be changed as well. People think that this work is finished. It isn't. It's the very beginning of the work. It's set up. We've got the run going every evening. We've got people coming in for meals on a Saturday. People being spending time sharing their problems with us. It's the next step on is what we're looking at now. So on a Friday in the office now, in the meeting room, we have somebody in there giving advice for housing benefits, for debt advice, asylum issues. So it's a work that we're building on all the time. It's never been satisfied where it is. A lot of our asylum seekers especially have been here for 8, 9, 10 years, and they're living day to day. And a lot of them will tell you if they wake up at 3 or 4 in the morning hearing noise, they're worried it might be somebody coming from the immigration to say, right, you know, that's it, you need to go back now. So when you hear that somebody's got their appeal, it's just, it gives me as much joy as them. You know, it's great, we all celebrate. And then it's a matter of how can we help further, how can we help to get them into a place, to give them some furniture, you know, and it's going on. But it's like being a family, isn't it? You know, it's the same as if it was my brother, my sister, my mother, or whoever. You share that joy all the time with each and every one of them. And each one then, as each person then gets their own place, they become a strength then for the next person. So yeah, it gives us great joy.
I don't expect most people to understand what I'm doing, and in fact it doesn't even matter to me. I've been working with Organize since 3 years approximately, and I know it does work, even if I can't explain how or why. But the effects on nature, on plants and on the weather are quite obvious to me, even if it seems completely unreal to most people. And anyway, that's what happens usually with many new ideas that are too far out. If I remember right, as Einstein said it, new ideas are first ridiculed, then strongly opposed, and then accepted as self-evident. And I think that's what will happen one day with Organite. I for sure cannot claim to know how it works, but from my experience, from working with it, I know it has a huge potential to help humankind and nature in many ways. By putting them all around, I hope that it will make, not only by cleaning up the bit of nature and the electromagnetic pollution, but I hope it will make just a better mood for people. Because for example, I don't know, I can't say it's me or not, but since I started in Cardiff 3 or 4 years ago, the crime rates, violent crimes, have dropped for, I think last time I read was 167%. They say it's because of the police, but I can't tell really. What I see is the only places where I haven't done are the places that are still the unsafe and the unsafe. I don't know, you say that? Yeah, not the safest in Cardiff, in Fairwater, the place, and at the docks where I've got so many problems. And yeah, and it's been the same in other places, for empowering people, for example it's in Santiago in Chile, some friends did there, it's a huge city, they just placed, I don't know, 2,000 or something like that around the city. I think it was 6 months ago or something like that. There were big earthquakes there, and it made people freak out. But actually, Santiago was hit by power cuts. They had no electricity, but actually it went quite fine there. My friend who lives there told me that actually the population didn't freak out. They handled themselves, the looters and everything. And actually, that city that was one of the most hit from the earthquake was one of the safest, actually, even though it had no power and things like that. A city that's next to it, but I can't remember the name, I have to look it up. That one just went in riots, everyone was afraid, criminality just increased at the time, and lootings just increased, and that one had no organized, whereas that city had loads, Santiago, and nothing happened. So that's things I can't explain, but that just can be proven by example, in all the cities that have them in there, it seems to make the population not safer, but empowering them to act by themselves and not wait for something else to do what they can do themselves. That's what I'd like to see in the future, power to the people. That sounds hippie, but I mean, yeah, it's really that the government has less take on what the people do, and that actually people realize they can't change what they want, and they can do it. They don't need to have the approval of the government or anything.